Sounds like he doesn't need much of an introduction, so let me adjust the volume a little.
All right. I can wait for you to adjust. Awesome. Look at this. Give a round of applause for yourselves for showing up. I mean, this is awesome. Yeah. I first and foremost just want to thank all of you guys, the houses, the Hopeaholic, Ryan for putting on this amazing event. Tom Fay, Gambit, you guys have your crew. I really, really appreciate you guys all showing up. One of the coolest things that I can say about the recovery community in Arizona is we show up. We show up, which is the coolest thing about Phoenix in general, is you have all these transplants from all over the place. And when there's an event like this, we come together. Who here, just show of hands, is from the sober living houses? Look at that. And I can thank Wade Sr., my dad, for just putting that in place, right? Showing up at a whim, I really appreciate that. No, round of applause. So Plugged In Recovery was started for this exact reason, right? We don't have a trademark on recovery. Recovery is a community. And in that, it's all about getting connected in the community that you're in. You have an event where you have different sober livings, you have different treatment centers, you have Kristen Day. Where's Kristen Day at? Tattoos, everything in the back. Big round of applause. So many different people that can come together from different walks of life, and we share this exact same struggle, which is exactly why I started Plugged In Recovery. I saw what was going on in the industry. I saw what was going on in a lot of the different houses that I had been in. And when I reached out for help, all I was an insurance number or how much I could pay to get into a sober living. They didn't care about me. They didn't care about my goals, my struggles, or anything else. So when I wanted to start this company, it was something that it could be for me, but it could be for anybody just like me. And what I get to see today is a dream come to reality. I have people who helped get me sober. Greg Bravo got me sober at River Source. Heath, where's Heath at? Heath, back in the corner. I mean, these are my BHTs, my executive directors who sat me down in a chair and taught me about life. And this story gets to go on today. Now we have WWE superstars in the back. We have NHL Stanley Cup winners in the back. All people showing up for one cause, and that's to help another addict and alcoholic who still struggles. Skinny Vinny, I almost missed you. Give a round of applause for Skinny Vinny. All the way from LA. But there's a reason they come to this hot-ass desert to find some collective community. There's no place like it on earth, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for showing up and showing out. Buy some art, buy some drinks. There's an event tomorrow. It's the last save. See if you can score on Skinny Vinny in the back. It doesn't look like he's going to take up too much of the net. And come out and support the local community. I really appreciate each and every one of you for being here, and I don't know who's up next.
All right, speaking of Skinny Vinny, I think Vinny, you're up.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? When I got invited to do this, I said yes, absolutely. And then as the weeks went by, I already had my plan to escape and not do this. But I always remember when I do stuff like this, when I share my story, when I spread the message, whatever the case may be, I just feel a lot better afterwards. And it's weird too, because like I do live shows all the time and I don't get nervous. Like I'll even get naked on stage. Like I don't give a shit. But when I do stuff like this and get vulnerable, I'm fucking terrified. I could curse, right? Okay, cool. Because there's gonna be a lot of cursing. So growing up at a very, very early age, addiction, mental health, everything it just surrounded me as a kid. My mother was is an ex-heroin addict. My father was an alcoholic, cocaine addict. He passed when I was very young. He got hit by a drunk driver while he was on his Harley. And so all that was it was just surrounding me at a very young age. My whole father's side, old traditional Italians drinking wine every day. And my mother's side, just straight alcoholics, vodka from the bottles. And so I got used to it. And like when you're that young, you just think it's the norm. Like you just think like this is the normal shit. Maybe everybody's parents are like this. Like this isn't weird to me. And I remember growing up and like finding needles in my mom's room at like 8 years old. Like what 8-year-old should be finding heroin needles and just like thinking that this is okay? I mean, I did. I thought like, oh, okay, this is just another needle on the ground. Cool. You know, like it's fucking insane. And I remember giving my mom, I remember it like it was yesterday. My mom picking me up from school and she was nodding off at the wheel. And I cried. I cried. I was just like, oh, Mom, and I'm 10 years old at this point. Mom, I'm giving you this fucking ultimatum. If you don't stop getting loaded, you're going to lose me too. We already lost Dad. My sister ran away at the age of 15. I'm going to leave, and you're going to have nobody. And the next day, she got on the methadone program and never put another needle in her arm. And granted, she's still on methadone to this day, 25 years later. But whatever, different things work for different people. And I always made that promise to myself, like, oh, I saw what it did to my mother. I saw what it did to my uncle. I saw what it did to my whole fucking family. I'm never gonna be that person. Never in a million fucking years am I gonna be that person to stick a needle in my arm. Never mind fucking, like, be homeless, fucking. Dude, I slept in a fucking handicap porta potty for 3 years. Comfortable. Shooting dope. Watching Netflix on my Obama phone. And the insanity behind it is that I was comfortable and I accepted it. And when you get to that place of acceptance where like, okay, I'm going to live the rest of my life a lonely heroin addict and I'm going to die a lonely heroin addict, it becomes this very dangerous line that you're walking because it's just like, I'm not going to kill myself, but I'll go out guns blazing. And the type of high that I like is I like to put enough dope in my needle where I'm touching the line of death. That's the kind of high that I like. I was the kind of addict that if you overdosed, I'm running your pockets and then I'll call 911. I'm the type of addict that like I'll steal your shit and then help you look for it. That's who I was. I hurt a lot of fucking people. And I promised, I made a fucking pact to myself that I would never do it. And then here I am, get like 27 years old living in that porta potty. It's unreal. The insanity behind it is so unreal. And, growing up, like any other kid, riding a skateboard, I had this passion of filming skateboarding and filming dumb stuff with my buddies. Like when Jackass came on TV in 2000, it was just like, that's what I want to do. I want to make people laugh and do dumb stuff with my dumb buddies. That's all I wanted to do. My mom bought me my first camera and that thing was like glued to my hip. I went everywhere with it. But as soon as the drugs and alcohol came into the picture, the passion and the love just like slowly faded away. And then the next thing you know, I'm selling all my gear. The next thing you know, I'm selling all my cars. I'm selling all my jewelry. I'm selling all this. It's just like the shit that I used to do just to get well. Like it got to a point where it was just like, I'm not even getting high anymore. I'm just like, I just need this to be okay for a couple hours until I could go fucking steal from somebody else. Like, I was never the type of addict where like I would panhandle or I would ask people for money. My pride and ego got in the way for that. But I'll fucking rob a gold chain from an old lady. Straight up. Like, it's not something to be proud of. And it's kind of disgusting. I know, it's really fucking disgusting for me to say that. For me to say that, like, I'll rob a gold chain from an old lady just so I can score some dope is so fucking disgusting. But that's what I had to do. And it was years of this bullshit. And I had no intentions of ever getting sober because my thought behind it was, well, first of all, I thought all those programs were cults and everything, and they're just fucking, the collection plates are just taking my money so they can go buy some crack themselves. And then somebody said something to me that like made a lot of sense. And they're like, bro, if you think these are cults and they're brainwashing you, your brain is so fucking dirty, it needs to be washed. And when that person said that to me, it was just like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense. Still, I didn't give a shit, and I still had no intentions of getting sober or anything. Like I said, I got to that point of acceptance where I just didn't give a fuck anymore. Because at this point, like, I have all my closest friends overdose and pass away. I'm talking about, there's three of us, John and Tom. John and Tom both overdosed and died with one overdose. I have 15 overdoses under my belt. 3 of them I've died. And John and Tom, they were the kindest people. They didn't do what I did. They didn't commit crimes. They didn't hurt people to get the next fix. That was me. So when I eventually got sober and like started this recovery journey I'm on, I had this fucked up survivor's guilt of like, why me? How did they go? Why did they go? Why me? And it fucked me up for a long time. And ultimately, I was just like, I don't need to know the answer to that. But what I do know, it's just like shit like this. This is why. It's because my story has the potential to reach a lot of people. And a lot of people deal with the same shit that we deal with. Fucking mental health, fucking addiction, alcoholism, the same shit that I dealt with. So my story just has the potential to reach a lot of people, and maybe fucking one of you hard-headed motherfuckers will listen. Because us as drug addicts and alcoholics, we know what's best, right? We think we know everything. Ultimately, I don't know shit. I have a few years under my belt now, and I still don't know shit. I'm constantly calling all my mentors when I need to make a big life decision. And it's annoying, but I know that I don't know shit. When the time came, how much time do I have? I'm good? Okay, cool. When the time came to, like, I'm from Connecticut, and when I told you that I was living in a handicap-sized porta potty in Connecticut in the winter, it was fucking cold. And somehow, some way, I made my way out to LA just because it was easier to be homeless. And I started off on Newport Beach, sleeping under a lifeguard tower, and just slowly made my way north to Skid Row. And I stayed on Skid Row for a few months. Skid Row is so fucking gnarly, but I was comfortable. Like, because everybody else is a fucking junkie degenerate just like me, and nobody else wants to do anything about it. I didn't want to do anything about it, so it's like I belonged here. Like, these are my people, right? In and out of sober livings, in and out of treatment centers, just for a bed and food, a couple days, you know, what's the cliche saying? 3 hots and a cot, right? That's it. And the sober living where I got and stayed sober, it's called Design for Recovery, located in West LA. And there was something about that house where there was a few things. It was the camaraderie between the guys in the house. There was a perfect balance between like structure, accountability, and a little bit of freedom, right? Because if I go into a spot where there's too much structure, and I'm just speaking for myself, if I go into a spot where there's too much structure, it scares me away. If I go into a spot where there's no structure at all, I'm overdosing in the bathroom. So they found this perfect balance, and it really fucking worked. And it's really weird how stuff happened, man. It happened really quick for me. That dream of the whole jackass and doing dumb stuff with my dumb buddies kind of just fell on my lap. As soon as it was like the second that I just let go and just like let someone else steer my ship for a little bit, it just fell on my lap. And I start filming dumb stuff with my dumb buddies in sober living. And at this point, like, I'm just going with it because it's just like so weird because it happened so quick. And next thing you know, like I'm like all my heroes that I had on my wall growing up are reaching out and like wanting to work with me. And it's just like it's so, and even to this day, it's pretty fucking like I still ask the question like, how did I get here, kind of thing, you know? But it was just like it was like a snowball effect. It was like one cool thing after another, and the shit was just so cool that it like kept me there. Just like, oh, this is fucking dope. Like I'm flying to Philly to go film with the dude. Like I was such a fanboy of this guy that I had like the same tattoos of him. You know, like a little fanboy 14-year-old, like getting the same tattoo as him, you know, that was me, you know, and then this person is like reaching out and like wanting to work with me. So it's just like all this shit that was happening was just cool enough to just keep me there because I love what I do this much more than getting loaded. So I was just like, okay, this is dope. I'll get loaded later. That was still in the back of my head. Not working any program, not doing anything. I'm lying to the staff saying that I'm working a program just so I can go film. And I stayed in the sober living for 3 years. Eventually started working programs and actually putting in the work because it was like, I think I had like a year sober when I actually started doing the work. And it was basically just because like, okay, it can't hurt. And at this point, I'm working in treatment, and I'm like preaching to these guys, you got to do this, when I haven't done it. And it was fucking eating me inside because like, okay, now I have a year sober, and like I have morals now. I have morals. I've never had morals before in my life. And it sucked. It really hurt that I was like preaching to these guys that like, you need to fucking put in some work or you're gonna die. You know? So I was just like, okay, it's not gonna hurt, and I need to do this. And it was just like it was like a level up, dude. It was just, it's so hard to explain, but it was just like this feeling of freedom and like I was able to like look in the mirror and like love the person that I was looking at. Like that's the number one thing that I've gotten out of all of this. Because I was so ashamed of the person that I was. I hated myself. I was embarrassed. I thought I was ugly. I was just self-hatred to the fullest. And that's the best thing that I've gotten out of all this, was just being able to look in the mirror and like love the person who I am today. The more work that I put in, the more direction that I took from people who knew more than me, the better my life got. The relationships with my mother, the relationships with my sister and her kids, you know, like I was that type of addict that would like, I would army crawl to my mom's purse while she's sleeping and take her debit card, steal the keys to the truck, go to the ATM, somehow I know her passcode, and take all the money out of her bank, go back to the house, army crawl back, put the debit card back in the purse. My mom had no trust in me for years. And then it's funny because like, when shit started to really take off and I needed a camera, it's like, Mom. And my mom has bought me so many cameras in my days, and I've sold every one for heroin. And I'm like, Mom, it's different this time. She's like, oh yeah, really? Mom, look what I'm doing. Look what I'm filming, who I'm filming with. And she's like, all right, one last time. And I still have that camera today. You know, and it's just the relationships that I've been able to build again, and the people that I have in my life. Like, somebody doesn't have to hold their purse when I walk into a room. Like, that's the magic of this shit. Just the trust that people have in you and the love that people have for you. That's what this is about. The community. That's what this is about. Sharing our fucking stories. That's what this is about. It's just like that type of fucking, like I tell my guys this all the time. If you just continue doing the next right thing, be honest with yourself first and everybody else around you, put in a little bit of service work, shit just works out. I can't give you a reason. I don't have a mathematical equation for this shit. It just fucking works. And I've seen it with me. I've seen it with tons of people, and it's a beautiful fucking thing. And like I said, the more work and the more honesty and the more everything that I've put in, the better my life just got. Never in a million years would I think I'd be touring the world doing comedy shows with the person who I had the poster in my wall. What the fuck? It's all because of this. Nothing else. Never in a million years did I think I would be able to like move my mom to LA. And like, I owe her a lifetime of amends. Like, that's just how the cards are played. Like for the rest of my life, for the rest of her life, I'm gonna be owing her amends. It's crazy because, you know, how long have we known each other? 3 weeks? We just met for the first time a couple of days ago. And just within these couple of days, I have all these new relationships. That's the beautiful shit with this. Like, and stuff and relationships that are probably gonna blossom into a lot of different things. I mean, the cliche sayings to all the like, you know, the cliche sayings. I fucking hate them, but they're true. I hate saying them, but they're fucking true. It's I owe everything. I owe everything to the structure, the accountability that I needed at that time. I owe everything to you guys, because you guys are a bunch of fucking junkies like me. You know what I mean? It's crazy because I've been to meetings all over the world. Every meeting that I've been to outside this country, when I walk through the door, it feels the same. It's that same feeling of like, whoa, this is normal. I belong here. That's why I love this shit so much. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. Gratitude is something that I have to live by every day. Straight up. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't trade this for anything. And I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. Yeah, and P.S. Don't film yourself doing dumb shit in sober livings. It won't work for everybody.
All right. Next up, we got Chad, Shane, and Natalie from the Hopeaholics podcast. Let's give them a warm welcome. It's not every day you get to hang out with some awesome people like these gentlemen and this beautiful fine lady who is a WWE superstar. She could probably kick my ass, so. Let's do. Let's get comfortable with these mics. Yeah. And I'll stand this for one of you.
I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I'm really crazy.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
No, you're not on.
Breaker, breaker, 1, 2. Who's starting?
Oh no, don't give Shane a mic.
Who's starting?
Things get crazy when Shane gets a mic.
Who's starting?
Can you hear me? Oh, yes, you can.
I want to go third.
Turn
No.
Shane down.
I'll go first.
Brian's asking us questions.
Ryan, who?
This is how the podcast usually goes. You guys know how this usually goes, right?
Shane's a mess. There you go.
All right, we're live.
It's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Where'd all these people come from?
Raise your hand if you're from Plugged In Recovery. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh. Damn.
Yeah.
Let's give
Showed
it
up
up.
and showed out.
Let's give it up for Wade, our boy Wade.
We love
Yes.
Wade.
Let's give it up for Wade and
Yeah,
Plugged In
baby.
Recovery.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Are you guys excited about recovery? Do you guys love recovery?
I do.
I do. Shane?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love recovery.
Tell us about it.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. I suffer from mental health issues. You see, when I remember my first drink, I'll tell you that much. My first drink was at a bar mitzvah party. I drank the red wine and I danced all fucking night. I had no inhibitions and I loved it. I loved it.
That's when you arrived?
That's when I arrived. I was 13 years old.
Weren't you telling us earlier that you never really liked alcohol?
You know what? I lied. I lied to you. I used to love it.
Ah,
Yeah, bro.
I see.
But I suffered from mental health issues. I had sadness and loneliness my entire life. I could not find peace. I had sorrow my entire life growing up. Even today, I struggle with pain and suffering on a daily basis. I wake up depressed, full of anxiety, and I have a structure today. And if I don't live through that structure, I'm paralyzed, bro. That's just how life is for me.
But you're doing it.
Oh, fuck yeah, I'm doing it hard and heavy, baby.
Been doing it for 15 years.
Longer than that, motherfucker. Yeah. Are we allowed to cuss?
I think so.
We got kids in here. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. That's rude.
It's
I know.
Ryan.
I know better. I know better. Smoking. and
Ryan's
cussing.
right over there. He's just sitting there hanging out. He just
He's
making
like,
us
no?
making us wing it how we normally
Okay.
do on the podcast.
All
Ryan, what are we doing?
I thought.
Right, Ryan?
Q&A?
Q&A.
All right. Well,
Yes.
before we do anything, though, I actually want to tell you guys why the Hopeaholics podcast exists.
Yeah.
Wait, before you do that, so that we don't forget, huge shout out to everybody that put this event on.
Yeah.
Ryan for having us out, to all the speakers that went before us, and to everybody that showed up, because this is everything. This is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now go ahead.
All right. So 9/11 of 2022, it was a Sunday, and I was up just doing my normal, regular routine, shaving my
his
head, getting ready to go to the gym. It was 7:30 a.m. I looked down at my phone, and my daughter was calling me. And I actually thought that it was an odd hour for her to be calling me because she works really late. She was doing bottle service at the time. And when I saw it was her, I knew something was wrong, because she only calls me during times when odd hours like this, when something's wrong. And when I picked up the phone, all I heard was screaming. That kind of screaming that you know that someone is gone. And she was screaming that Justin is dead. Earlier that day, Justin bought a pill off of the streets, and it was fentanyl. He took that pill and never woke up. Justin was my son-in-law. He was my daughter's first love. They met when she was 15 years old. They had been together for 6 years. I call him my son-in-law, even though they weren't married, because he was more like a son to me than a son-in-law. We lost Justin that day. Through that tragedy, God had put it on my heart to be the voice for the people that have lost their lives to the fentanyl crisis. To offer hope to the families that are out there dealing with it on a daily basis. Because as all of you guys know, how many in this room have done fentanyl? 300 people die every single day from fentanyl poisoning. That's what we call it. And the reason why we call it a poisoning is because there is no safe dose of illicit fentanyl. So every dose is potentially fatal. 2 grains of salt is all it takes to kill one of us, right? And this is the drug that we choose to do today. You know, it's not the same. I've worked in the treatment industry for 25 years now. It's all I've ever done. I'm a meth addict, old school meth addict, you know, that likes to stick meth in his veins with needles and immediately go into psychosis and start working for the CIA. I do missions. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but I go deep undercover missions for the CIA immediately as soon as that meth hits my veins. And my last mission, I was actually in my last. I like to call it up. But first off, let me finish with the Hopeaholics podcast. That is why we exist. God put it on my heart to be the voice And we were blessed. It was started off with Shane and I. We were the dynamic duo. And we weren't doing too well because we were like two 50-year-old men, you know, trying to offer hope to people. And
then they met me.
and then we got the pink-haired girl, right? Shane's neighbor was a business partner of Natalie's, and we found out that she was a 11 years sober, and we begged and pleaded for her to come on the podcast, and she messed with Shane's head for about 6 weeks. Nah, 2 weeks.
No, it was about a while. Shane's still on
Anyways,
me.
long story short, she came on, did an episode of the podcast. Immediately, we all clicked, and she became a member of the Hopeaholics. We also opened up a treatment center together called NEM Recovery Centers out in Laguna Beach, California. And it's just been a wonderful ride, man. Now back to my meth story, because it seems like that story is a little bit more. I see people perk up and laugh because you can relate, right? You can relate to, you know, thinking you work for the CIA. And man, if I was coming in here and I was loaded right now, every single one of you would be an FBI agent trying to take me out of my mission, because I'm not supposed to be doing my CIA operative missions on American soil. Shit's funny, isn't it? Man, I'm grateful to be clean, man. I am grateful to be clean. I want to go back, since I'm on a roll right now.
You're on a roll, yeah.
I'm on a roll. That was story number 1, why the Hopeaholics podcast exists. But really, the original story of why everything good in my life, that story starts on December 9th of 2000. I was driving my car down the 10 freeway in Pomona. If anybody knows where the 10 freeway is in Pomona, I was heading to La Puente to pick up from these Chicano gang members, because that's what I did. Little white dude weighing about $114, soaking wet, thinking he was hard and tough. I'd been up for a few days. I fell asleep behind the wheel, clipped the car in front of me, rolled end over end down the embankment. I probably should have died that day, you know, but God had a different plan for my life, right? It wasn't the end. I was in the hospital for a couple of days. I got out, went straight back to where I was going, to this little bar. It was called the Magic Mushroom in La Puente, California. And I remember sitting there with these Chicano gang members, and I smoked some weed with them. And I immediately got super paranoid, because weed was definitely not my thing. I looked around, I looked at these guys, and I saw stone cold killers. And I got scared. And I walked out and I called my mom, like any good tough guy does, right? I called my mom. And my mom was crying when she answered the phone. And I said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "You just had a little baby girl." I had a moment of clarity that day, that I could either continue going down the road I was going and either be dead or in prison for the rest of my life, or I could go be a father to that little girl. That's the same little girl that found her fiance dead 21 years later. And my daughter struggled with the disease. Shortly after Justin died, she started drinking a lot. She started using meth again. And, you know, I'm going to sit here today and tell you that she's 11 months clean and sober.
God is good.
Because God is good, you know. We have a spiritual malady. You know, all these doctors, all these people are trying to figure out what's wrong with us. What's wrong with us is that we have a hole in our chest that only God can fill. You know? And it's the God of your understanding, man. It's just a simple relationship saying, "God, I can't. I know you can help me." You know, and we turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understand Him on a daily basis, man. And I just keep doing that, and my life keeps getting better and better and better. Like, my life is better than anything I ever imagined. You know, I hear people in the rooms, and I used to say, better than my wildest dreams, right? I had some wild dreams. My dreams are different today, though. My wild dreams used to be I wanted to be a gangster. I wanted to be a drug dealer. I couldn't even sell a freaking nickel rock. I was terrible. Terrible. Trying to stay in a Motel 6 or the Colton Inn. You know, that's what my life was like. And today I'm a dad, you know. Today I help people get sober. That's what I do. You know, and I've actually made a living out of it, and it's been a blessing, you know, because that's what God had intended for my life. My life hasn't been perfect. I relapsed, like I said, as an owner of a treatment center, man. And my misery was refunded in full. In full. Immediately. Back working for the CIA. Doing the missions. I mean, it's real shit. My last day of using on my last run, I was supposed to be in court on June 9th of 2017. Well, I could do telepathy too when I was really messed out. So I telepathied the judge that I was doing a deep undercover mission for the CIA. I'm not fucking kidding when I'm saying this story. This is like real shit. I like told him. And he telepathied back to me that he knew I was undercover and that only my lawyers needed to show up. So in the morning, my lawyers showed up to court. The judge asked where I was. They started frantically calling me and texting me. I texted them back. I said, I talked to the judge last night. He said I didn't need to come. He immediately issued a warrant for my arrest. And later that night, at about 7 o'clock that night, I was rescued by a 6'5" bail agent who kicked in my front door. And I went to the best detox center for me. And that detox center is 550 North Flower Street in Santa Ana. It's called the Orange County Jail. You can't ACA from that detox center. So it's a pretty good one. And that's what I needed. You know, that's what I needed. Man, I just got 8 years sober.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the life that I'm living today, man. I've had to really dive in and do the work. You know, we have to do work around here. So we get sober, and guess what happens? Our mind doesn't stop. All our crazy thinking doesn't stop. We got to start doing the work.
Every day.
Every day, on a daily basis, man. And for me, you know, the Hopeaholics podcast has been kind of a blessing for me because, you know, through the tragedy, tens of thousands of lives have been saved, and the ripple effect of that, I don't even know. I don't even know. But even more so than that is that my recovery has gotten stronger because I'm in front of all of you guys. And I don't want to let you guys down. You know, I don't want to let my team down. So every day, man, and I promised myself after relapsing, after having 9 years and being an owner of a treatment center, I promised myself that I would spend the first hour of every single day with God before I do anything else. And that's what I do today. So thanks, guys, for sharing my recovery with me.
Yes.
Natalie?
Are we doing a Q&A or what are
Whatever.
we doing?
Whatever. Just go ahead with it. Tell us about yourself, Natalie.
I mean, I love your story because that's the promises coming true in somebody's life, and I'm definitely a testament of that. My sobriety, it's kind of crazy where I have to give all the glory to God because even sitting here on this couch talking about my own personal recovery, I never in a million, because that was not what I would do, because I would live a double life. I would pretend that everything was smooth sailing and I got my shit together, and then I was literally dying on the inside, trying to hide that. And then when I first got sober at 23, I wanted to still live a double life, like my AA, my classes and sponsorship and stuff was like over here, and then my other friends and life was over here. I never wanted people to know this like terrible secret of mine. And today that's not, if anything, I'm like shouting it from the rooftop until I'm blue in the face because my disease is my superpower. It's given me everything and more. I used to think and be ashamed of it, but now I absolutely love it because I get to look at myself on a daily basis And the peace that I have today is something that I was searching for, that I had no idea was waiting for me. I chased money, I chased fame, I chased all the things that I thought was gonna fill this, like Chad said, you know, a God-sized hole. And then I got those things. 4 weeks out of treatment, I ended up in the WWE off of a diva search, just an open call audition. Soccer was my thing, so I had never wrestled a day in my life. So if that's not God, I don't know what is. But an opportunity came, and when opportunity knocks, you knock the ball out of the park, because the next guy, if you don't take it, he will. So I did, and it coincided the same time with a reality show called Total Divas, and it was a game time decision for me to ask my parents at the time and my family and make sure that they were cool with it, but to put my shit out on the street. I'm Mexican Italian, so anybody that has any kind of culture in them, you know that you don't put your shit out on the street. So all of a sudden, I'm on this reality show, and I didn't want to walk into the locker room, and all of a sudden the girls like show my mug shot, and then all of a sudden I'm like trying to backpedal this narrative and be in shame and all this stuff. So I went ahead and took my own story and used my voice and hit it head on. So season 1 of Total Divas, I came out with me struggling with my substance abuse and alcoholism. And the response that I got was something that I never even dreamed of. I was just doing it selfishly, which I learned through the program, that I'm a pretty selfish individual, that I thought that I wasn't. I thought I was so caring and loving and all this stuff. But then when you start doing the steps and you start doing the internal work, you're like, damn. And it was the biggest blessing, because my sobriety date is March 24th, 2013. So I celebrated 12 years this year, which is wild. And let me tell you, it has not been easy. So I know a lot of people here are in sober living right now. It's a journey. It's a one day at a time, and all those cliches that you guys hear all the time, they're cliches for a reason. Because I used to be the chick in the back, and I would soak up whatever I could, and then talk shit in my head, judge people, and then I would leave. But those cliches, I'm a walking, talking cliche myself, because the things that I heard in the rooms are actually stuff that is true in my life. So 12 years ago is when I started my like public journey of my sobriety. This isn't my first rodeo. I relapsed because I thought like, I got it, thank you. You know, I put 3 years together, and then I was like, called my sponsor, you know what, I got this, thank you. I feel like I graduated the program. And sure enough, when you hear about it all the time, like, your disease does not take any days off. So as soon as I picked up, it was like on and popping, like I had never stopped. And it was 10 times worse. But I say that to say this. It started on a reality show, and then fast forward, I wrote this down, what the life that I'm living right now, I wrote this down in a journal. I always try to do like the vision board thing, but I'm not creative enough to do that, so I just do like vision journals. So I write little things that I would like to achieve, accomplish, whatever it may be. I wrote down, I said, God, please, because when I went to treatment, I was treated like a peasant, like this totally poor, fragile individual, and I never wanted to, I didn't want anybody else to experience something like that. So I said, God, can you please put in my life a team? I don't know what that looks like, but I would love to work.
Chad and Shane.
That's what these two like to say. Please put a team in my life that can help me work in the treatment field in some capacity. I don't know what that is. And then fast forward, my former business partner calls me up and says, hey, can you do me a solid? And my first response is always no. I never want to do anything. And then finally Shane broke me down, and I flew out, and we just kind of, these are the things where I pray every day for God to open my ears and open my eyes to see his presence, and like fill me with the Holy Spirit, and also see him talking to me, whether it's through people or little things that we come encounter with. And when I met these guys, I went on to just kind of share my kind of journey and story. And then a month later, I was back out there doing all like the legal stuff, signing papers and things to make it official. And at the time, I lived in Texas because I went back to WWE in 2021. So my residence was in Texas. But when this came about, it was so perfect, and it fit, and it was effortless, and it was easy that I never left. I've been now there for 2 years. And like Chad said, NEM Recovery Centers just opened in Laguna Beach. Like, that's totally God. This is an individual that, left to my own devices, I fuck shit up. That is what I do. I don't know why I'm like that, but I like to drive, and I like to drive into walls and total cars. And that's not the case today. I ask God every single day to lead me, guide me, and then how can I be of service? The 12 steps has given me a life literally beyond my wildest dreams. I've never been more fulfilled than doing what I'm doing today, and I thought that I would never be at this place. So it's like, you guys that are sitting here and you might be in a dark spot, trust me, I've been there too. I've been there in sobriety too. I wanted to take my life when I was in WWE, thinking that I made it and thinking that I had the dream, had the husband, had the house, had the career, but I wasn't working a program. That ain't it. That ain't it for me. Faith without works is dead, and that is a fact. So all these things that I thought that I wanted to make me happy, I all of a sudden had them, and I wanted to take my own life. Now, if that doesn't say something, like, I'm the type of individual that has to put my hand on the stove 9 times and still think that I can, like, maneuver my hand and not get burned. And it took that to get me back into the rooms and to start working a diligent program. And I really think that God saved my life, because me being with these guys, I feel honored to sit next to Chad and Shane, because, you know, we get up here and we do a podcast and we hear other people's incredible stories, and everyone's a miracle. We're all miracles that are sitting in this chair because we came in here tonight. There's a lot of people out there that didn't even wake up, and we're fighting our disease every single day. And to me, that is a miracle. But what it has done for me is to work my program better than ever and be super diligent, because I know that the devil is knocking. Because when you start spreading, we have to talk about what is going on so that other people don't die alone and don't die when they're think that nobody understands. Like, we're not all special little unicorns. We're all one and the same. We all struggle and we all have pain. So how do we work through that? We talk about it. And that's why I think that having the podcast and our treatment facilities and being with these guys and having to face it every single day, there's not enough words that I could say to express my gratitude and give so much glory to my higher power, which is God. So in a quick little bit, that's kind of how I got here on this couch.
Well, thank you, Natalie. I just want to say thank you to Chad and Natalie. I've known Chad for 15 years now. We met in kind of a weird way, but it was a fun.
Gosh, tell the story.
No, that's for another. You could do it quick. Yeah.
I
Do
don't know
it.
how Shane and I
Yeah,
met.
let's go.
Are there any Canadians in here? Are there any Canadians in this? A couple? Okay, you guys will understand. I had relapsed. I went to treatment. I'm going to tell a quick version.
Quick version.
I went to this treatment center up in Lake Arrowhead, and they had an outside gym, and I went to the gym, and I was hanging out with my roommate, and we were walking back to go get our stuff out of the lockers in the locker room. My roommate at the time, he was gay, and this guy comes walking out of the jacuzzi inside of the locker room.
This guy being Shane.
This guy right here comes walking. I had never met the guy in my life. He comes walking out of the jacuzzi, butt-ass naked. And I feel like I need to stand a little bit to show you guys, because
Oh yeah, you need to do his stance.
I think nope, I didn't lose my mic.
No, you didn't.
Okay, he gets to the top of the jacuzzi, and he stands.
Naked.
Naked. Butt-ass naked. Vinny, you know about that. Anyway, my roommate says, that guy looks like a god. I was like, I think a god's a little bit more hung than that, but okay. Looked like you got out of the cold plunge. We leave, go to group. Guess who walks in to facilitate the group?
Shane Earn.
The fucking naked man. That's how we met.
Good times.
He
Good
was a
times.
counselor, so if your counselor
Unethical.
ever,
I'm very unethical.
if you ever
Cross the line.
meet your counselor naked for the first
Run.
time,
You're at the wrong treatment center.
Run. You're at the wrong treatment center.
Wow.
That's how Shane and I met.
Wow.
I think the story's funny.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know if
funny.
you guys didn't think it was funny, but I think it's hilarious.
We love it. That's a true love story. True love story. You know what? I had a funny childhood. My parents and grandparents, English was not their language. They came from overseas during the World War, and we were poor. Really poor. I used to wear pants that my grandfather was a tailor. He used to sew. Used to cut the seam where the waist is in the back. He used to put a little piece of a cloth in there. It didn't have to be the same color as the pants. It didn't matter to him. He was an immigrant. He didn't care. He just fought for his life. He walked hundreds of miles from enemy. He didn't care about these types of things that gave me PTSD and trauma. My biological father got into a motorcycle accident when I was 10. He was in a coma, head trauma. We pulled the plug. He lived another 11 years. Died on my 23rd birthday. So I guess I'm just validating, trauma builds up in you, PTSD builds up in you. I was born in an era where they never knew what these things were, us older guys, in our 40s and 50s. I never wanted to feel that way again. I never wanted to be poor. My only goal in life was to be rich. I had no other care at all. School, hard work, money, nothing else mattered to me. I stepped on everybody to get to the top, and I made it. I was a vice president of a pharmaceutical company. I traveled to 20 countries. I did opium and hung out with prostitutes in every country I lived at. That's who I was. That's what I knew. That's where I was comfortable. On my spare time, I had business partners with interpreters, and I was functioning. You know what I mean? I was working and functioning. Zero satisfaction. At age 38, 39, I tried crack for the first time at a party. That sent me off on a spiral. 2 years, I have no idea what happened. I lost everything. I stole, made a phone call to my family, toll-free number. They sent me a plane ticket. I went to California and did indigent men's detox. And I found God at that place. I found God, I found a sponsor, and I found routine in my life. And I realized that we're all animals, but we as human beings, we can reason and we can understand logic and know right from wrong, And I just took direction from people that I thought weren't as good as me at the time. I thought weren't as attractive, or maybe didn't have enough money or as educated, but they had 20 years of sobriety, bro. And they were happy and they were satisfied with life. And they were glowing from the inside out, and I wanted that badly, So of course I fell in love in treatment.
Don't recommend that.
Don't recommend
by the
it.
way.
We used for about a year together. It was miserable. I ended up marrying her. Don't do that either. But I want to tell you, 17 years later and 3 kids, it bloody worked out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, life is good today. I follow the rules and regulations. I'm home every night before it gets dark. After 6 o'clock, there's no good. Nothing positive happens for me after 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. It has never been good for me. I will fall into a trap. There'll be a girl. There'll be a puddle. I'll get a flat. Any excuse in the world. If I'm not home, I'm dead. I know that already, so I'm home every night. I have rules and regulations in my life today to keep me sane, to keep me sound. Chad, I was fortunate enough 2 years ago, and a little bit, Chad came to me after this unforeseen tragedy, and we started the Hopeaholics. We started a platform where we could actually save a lot more lives, and this has just been a blessing in my life, giving back to the community in any way possible on a daily basis. That's about it. Thank you.
Well done, Shane. Well done.
Quick. They were getting bored. I had to go fast.
Yeah.
These guys.
There's a lot of us.
Yeah, man.
There's 3.
They don't want to sit here all fucking
I
night.
know.
All right. Yeah, Hopeaholics. Yeah.
Like everybody, I want people to
Yeah.
have their favorite
Yeah.
tonight after everybody's done speaking.
Oh, okay. Thank you, guys.
So we are going to do a Q&A at the end when everybody is done speaking. But I want everybody to think about the stories that are being told here tonight and what resonates with you and I want you to pick somebody's story that resonated with you so you can ask them a specific question so we're not holding up everybody at once. So Vinny said we got Anthony over here that would like to speak. Doesn't look like he knows that he's doing this.
What's up, Tom? I'm just gonna speak to you. My name's Anthony. I'm sober, relatively sane today. I appreciate everybody for coming out. What up, Wade? Thanks for bringing like 75% of the current audience. That's inspiring. Fucking dope. Thanks for the Hopeaholics, guys. You, where are you? Had me choked up a little bit. Vinny's all right. Thank you, Vinny, for spending 3 years in a porta potty, because that's funny to me. I'm gonna be quick because there's a food truck outside, and it's delicious. And they do these. I don't know what this would be called, but I had 2 coffees just now, and then I went out and I was trying to switch it up, and then I found out they put Red Bull in the thing. So I'm shaking. I can say this, the common theme here is most of us at one point seem to have been degenerates, and I am not excluded from that class by any means. And some days, on my worst days, I still fall short pretty largely. But I remember about 15 years ago when I was first getting sober the first time, I was going to a meeting in like a large hall of a certain anonymous fellowship. And I had like 2.5 months, and I was in South Florida, and I didn't know anything or anybody. I just remember the sensation of looking around, and it hit me. I had this feeling like nobody's watching us. You know what I'm saying? Like we're unsupervised. How is this so synchronous? How are these people around me talking about hope and even the miraculous? And they seem to mean it. And it just kind of formed. And then I've been all over the world. Over the last 15 years, I've been all over the world. And I've had the same experience, like I heard Vinny say, everywhere I've went. I've went to meetings that weren't, primary English spoken language in different parts of the planet. And there's like this palpable vibe of people like me getting well. And I feel that tonight. And it gets me going because it's been the best part of my life so far. And I can say that with certainty that recovery's been the best squeeze, the best investment I've ever made, because I have 2 beautiful children who wouldn't exist if I weren't sober. Furthermore, if they did, I wouldn't be a father, having grown up without a dad because of addiction. I would have left them with the same hard time that I found myself in. I have a beautiful family. I do meaningful work as a profession. I wouldn't be able to show up. I wouldn't be able to show up to anything. In kind of the line of what Vinny was talking about, I remember this time I had overextended my welcome at the apartment I was living in Boston. And they cut the water on me. So I was squatting, and I would go to the bathroom. I would poop in plastic bags, just kind of toss them out into the alleyway. And I don't do that anymore. This is one of more than one achievements I've accomplished in my life. I don't know how it happened. Here's what I know is I found myself graced with something that was way bigger than me. That, our understanding of addiction and treatment for addiction is still relatively young. You know, if I was born 150 years ago, I would have just been fucked. You know, the way I acted, if I was born even 70 years ago, I might have ended up with like a lobotomy or something. And yet I found myself just by these groups of people like are here today that welcomed me, showed me a thing or two about life, gave me principles by which I can live. What a gift it is to have a single principle that will never fail. What is that? What did I do to deserve that? You know? And then I fell short. And I found myself as soon as I was willing to, like, amongst you all, I was welcomed with open arms a couple times over. And I've also gotten a lot of help of the extracurricular variety. I've found that as a sober and recovered man, I could get help for things like complex trauma and hardship. And I'm just way overpaid. I think that's probably the common theme here tonight. We probably all have dead friends. We probably all have suffered tremendously. And to be able to stand up here today and say that I really don't deserve most, if not all, of what I've been given, and yet here I am having a new experience, being able to kick it with all of you, it's all a gift, right? And I wouldn't be who I was if it weren't for all that hardship. There's no way. I'm really grateful for all of you. You guys are helping me directly and indirectly in ways that, you know, I could never pay you back for, but hopefully we get to keep rocking on this journey together. A day at a time, we get to enjoy this life and get to enjoy delicious tacos. So again, thank you. Thank you for putting on this event. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
All right. And last but not least, Mr. Theo Fleury. Stanley Cup champion, Olympic gold medalist, artist, singer, songwriter, musician, and author.
I know it's been a long night, and I will try to keep this as brief as possible. But first of all, thank you for asking me to come and be a part of this. You know, I spend the majority of my time now helping people deal with either trauma, mental health, addiction issues. That's what I spend my time doing. So when I'm asked to come and share my story, I'm always grateful and honored to share that with people. You know, there's a saying in 12-step, and it's, you're only as sick as your secrets, okay? And that's my story, okay? For 27 years, I hid a secret, and after an incredible professional hockey career where I was a very high-functioning alcoholic and drug addict, I got kicked out of the NHL. In 2003, I got kicked out of the NHL. And, you know, after a failed suicide attempt and you know, hitting rock bottom, I ran into an old reporter who used to cover the Calgary Flames when I played in Calgary. And first thing he said to me, he said, "What are you doing these days?" I said, "I'm doing absolutely nothing." Okay? And we go back and forth, we make small talk, and at the end of the conversation, I say to him, I go, "Do you know anybody that'd be interested in writing a book with me?" And he says, "Funny you should ask." He says, "My wife is a writer." And I was like, holy cow. So 3 days after that conversation, I met with Kirsty, and then 3 days later, we started writing my book, Playing with Fire, okay? And when I sat down to write the book, the only thing I was going to talk about was my hockey career, okay? I was going to talk about my parents, who are both addicts and alcoholics. I wasn't going to talk about being raped 150 times by a coach of mine. I wasn't going to talk about my drink-a-log, and I wasn't going to talk about my drug-a-log. I was just going to talk about my hockey career, okay? But early on in the process of writing this book, this lady who I was writing this book with, she made me feel safe, and I trusted her, okay? And as soon as that happened, I started throwing up on the pages after pages after pages, talking about my secrets, right? So 3.5 years later, we finished the book, and I'm getting ready to launch this book where I tell the whole entire story from start to finish. And I am absolutely shitting in my pants. Scared, because I don't know how all of you are going to react to what's in the book, right? And I also knew that I was going to go do a whole bunch of media surrounding the book. And I knew that the only thing that the media would be interested in would be the gory details of my sexual abuse, okay? But I had spent 25 years in the media being interviewed every single day by reporters. So I knew that I didn't have to answer the reporters' questions directly. And so, because I'm a very smart and bright guy, I spent 4 days on my computer researching every single thing I could find on the subject of child sexual abuse, right? Because I wanted to get a story of hope and healing and recovery out to the masses, okay? So I go to Toronto, and the first 4 days I'm there, I do 300 interviews in the first 4 days that I'm there, okay? All the big sports channels in Canada, every newspaper, every morning TV show, every radio show, magazines, newspapers, you name it. And just like I predicted, the only thing they were interested in was the gory details of my sexual abuse, right? But because I was very skilled at being interviewed and I had done a ton of research, I got this amazing story of hope and healing and recovery out to the masses, okay? Now, my expectations for the book were like really low. I'm like, nobody's going to read this book, right? I'm not Wayne Gretzky. I'm not Mario Lemieux. I had an amazing hockey career, but I'm not like these guys, right? So I fully expected to show up, sign 10 books, go to the next town, sign 10 books, so on and so forth. So the first book signing is at the biggest Indigo chapter store in all of Canada, downtown Toronto on Yonge Street, 3 levels, big place. Fully expecting to walk through the doors and see 10 people standing there wanting a book signed, okay? Well, I walked through the front doors of the bookstore, and there's 400 people standing in line with my book. And I'm like, what the hell are all these people doing here? Like, I didn't expect this. So I sit down at the book table and I start signing books, right? And one of the wonderful gifts that we get from being traumatized is we have these little feelers out there where we are empaths and we pick up on energy and all this stuff. So I spot this guy in line, and he's got my book clutched against his chest, and his face is buried in the floor, and he's walking really slow, and his hair's greasy, his t-shirt's dirty, his sweatpants are ripped, and I'm like, I wonder what's up with this guy, right? So I follow him all the way in the line. He gets to the front of the line, puts the book on the table, looks me in the eye, and says, "Me too. Me too." Right? So, what happened that day was I realized that by me finding the courage and the strength to tell my story, I could help other people do the exact same thing, right? And The guy showed up to deliver a spiritual message of two simple words: me too, right? Because as much as that guy didn't want to feel alone, like I just told my story. I spilled my guts and I thought, I was the only guy too, right? So it made me feel like I wasn't alone, okay? Well, you know what happened after that? I got completely run over by people everywhere I went. 5, 10, 15, 20 people were coming up at every book sign and saying, hey, I read your book. You told my story. Me too. Hey, I watched your documentary. You told my story. Me too. Hey, I read an article in a magazine. You told my story. Me too. Right? And, I've been doing this for about 17 years now. I've done over 1,000 speeches, and I've had over 1 million people, either directly or indirectly, say, me too. Me too. Right? And so, I've spent the last 17 years traveling all over the world. Right? I work in the prison system. I do speeches in prisons. I'm everywhere talking to everybody. And I've realized something very significant, okay? We have a mental health crisis on the planet, and we have an addiction crisis on the planet, but we always forget to talk about the catalyst that brings us into those two spaces, and that's trauma. Trauma, right? And what I realized is that every single issue we have in society starts with unresolved trauma. Okay? And then you pick your poison as to how you're going to cope with the emotional pain and scars that are left behind from our traumatic experiences. Right? And as a society, we haven't created a space for guys like me to say, hey, I was raped 150 times by my coach. There's no space in society to talk about that. Right? And so, yeah, it's wonderful that we have 12-step groups and healing things and all that stuff. And, I've spent $1 million on therapy. I've done 10,000 hours of therapy. I've done every kind of therapy known to mankind. And you know what the cheapest, most effective therapy there is? Exactly what we're doing tonight. Group therapy. Doesn't cost anything, right? Because vulnerability, which is storytelling, creates safety. And then once you have safety in the room, that's when the magic of healing happens, is when people feel safe. Because we're all afraid to be judged. We're all afraid to be judged. Right? And that's why we don't talk about the stuff that hurt us. Right? That emotional pain. Right? Because what is addiction? Addiction is emotional pain management. That's what addiction is. Emotional pain management. That's what it is. Right? I don't like how I feel. I have nobody to talk about how I feel. So you know what? I'm just going to go pick up. Right? So when we create safe environments, that's when we have success. Right? My life is unmanageable. My life is unmanageable. Okay? I am powerless, and my life has become unmanageable. Step 3, came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. Right? So September 17th of 2005, I was in a washroom on my hands and knees, high on cocaine, drunk, and I was done. I was done, you know? And I remember an old timer in the program saying to me one night after, a meeting, he asked me how I was doing with my higher power, and I was like, yeah, it's not happening, right? It's not happening. And then I remember saying something I'll never forget. And he said, do you realize in this program that you get to pick your own God? And I was like, fuck are you talking about, Willis? Right? You know what I mean? Right? And so here I was in the washroom. I remembered having this conversation, and I said, okay, I'm going to have this out with, this God of my own understanding, right? So I called him every single name in the book, made up a couple of my own, and then I said, God, I realize you only give me as much as I can handle. I said, I'm full. I'm full. You can't put one more thing on my plate. And at the end of the conversation, I said, please, please, God, take away the obsession to drink and do drugs. And I went to bed. And the next morning I got up and, I was still half corked and still high. And I was heading to the washroom, and I had to walk by this big mirror in my washroom, right? And as I was kind of rubbing the sleep out of my eyes, I glanced out of the corner of my eye and I stopped dead in my tracks. And I can't remember the last time I looked at myself in the mirror. And so here I was, because I was so full of shame and so full of guilt and anger and rage and resentment and all these things, right? So I start looking at myself in the mirror, and 5, 10, 15 minutes goes by, and I'm like, I feel different. And sure enough, 40 minutes goes by, and I go, holy shit. My prayer has been answered, and that was September 18th of 2005, and I haven't had a drink or a drug since that time, right? And so what I did that night in the washroom was I surrendered. And I turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him. Because left to my own defenses, left to me running the show, is the biggest shit show on the planet when I'm running my own life, right? And every time I drive the bus always crashes, right? That's why I love the 3rd step prayer. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self so that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy life. May I do thy will always. Right? Because in this addiction space, if you don't find God, you're going to die. If you don't find God, you're dead. It's as simple as that. I've seen many, many thousands upon thousands of examples of that. It's that simple. Surrender, surrender, surrender. Right? And find a God of your own understanding. Right? And you know what? Like, I won a World Junior. I won a Turner Cup. I won a Stanley Cup. I won a Canada Cup. I won an Olympic gold medal. And you know what? I would trade every single one of those to help one single person get sober. Because ultimately, that's the real reason why we're all here. You want to know what your purpose is? Help somebody recover. That's why we're all here, right? And, you know, it's really quiet, right? And when I do speeches, when it gets really quiet like this, that's when I know I've done my job. Because I got you to self-reflect on your own experience, right? But ultimately, you don't know me from Adam. I am a complete stranger. And when it's quiet like this, you know what you guys are doing? You're holding space for me so that I can tell you this story. So if you can hold space for me, a complete stranger you've never met in your life, why can't you do it for each other? Why can't you do it for each other? And all it is taking the cotton out of your ears and putting it in your mouth and listening. That's it. Because you know what? 9 times out of 10, when people come up to me to tell me their Me Too story, I never have to say one word. As long as I'm present, attuned, and it's unbelievable to watch somebody get rid of shame in a matter of 5 minutes. Right? Because their eyes get brighter, their posture changes, and when they leave, they have a little more bounce and jump in their step because they don't feel alone and they felt heard. They felt heard, right? And you can be that person for someone, right? Because nobody knows pain better than we do. Nobody knows emotional pain better than we do, right? Nobody. So that's when the compassion and the empathy, right? And the love from your heart exudes to people. And when people feel safe, man, they make incredible strides at turning their lives around, right? And this has been my experience for the last 17 years once I found the courage and the strength to tell my own story. Right? So, and you know, when I first started out on this journey, like nobody was talking about mental health, nobody was talking about trauma, you know, all those things. And so to be able to come to an event in Phoenix, Arizona, all based around all this stuff is like incredible. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Right? And never forget, if you're feeling shitty about yourself, go help somebody else. Because when you do that, you get out of your own fucking head. Right? And you feel better after. You feel better after. So, thank you, Ryan, for this opportunity. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for supporting the charity. And have a great night.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Just want to take a quick moment and tell my own story. Theo already knows this story. I was one of those people. I read his book. I was talking to Lori in the parking lot, and I felt like for the first time, someone else felt like how I felt. Theo was gracious enough to get on a podcast with me, and I told my story a little bit for the first time. I have not talked to my dad for 8 years. I mean, a few times. He heard the podcast and texted me and said, "Me too." And you're the first person I've ever told that to. And through that story, dude, I'm going to start crying again. I've been able to talk to my dad for the first time consistently for a long time. So thank you. I got to go on and talk to Natalie and them about the Hopeaholics Board. You guys are all here because of that one interaction. So thank you, Theo.
So is there anybody in the audience that would like to do a Q&A with anybody specific? And be reminded that this is a safe space. Anybody? Anybody? Not me. Nobody's is that it? Is that what we're gonna call it? Okay, thank you guys for all coming out tonight. Seriously, this event was incredible. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to the venue. Thank you to the, all the artists. Go support your artists. And yeah, beautiful, beautiful speeches from everybody tonight. Thank you.